Is everybody in? Is everybody in? The show is about to begin.
Welcome to the podcast, concerts that made us, interviews and stories, tales from the bus. We love taking you back to when it all went down. The greatest live shows and that cheering crowd sound. It's concerts that made us, concertsthatmadeus.com.
Guys, welcome back. Well, Lexi, welcome back. Jono, welcome for the first time. How's things?
Yeah, good to be back. Good. Thank you, Brian. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Oh, fantastic.
And Jono, how are you?
I'm good. Just came rushing in from the cold. We're just starting winter here in South Africa, and it's getting very cold. So I came rushing in going, I got to make 8 o'clock, but I made it. I'm here, so life is good.
Now, is it true when you guys say cold, that's still like an Irish summer to us?
Yes, yeah. I was about to say, we're talking to an Irishman. He's like, please, you Cape Townians and you're cold.
Yeah,
we are pathetic ninnies when it comes to the cold, but it's still cold, you know.
I could imagine. I'd say when you think it's cold, I'm probably still walking around in shorts.
Exactly.
So we have a few things to talk about. You've new music coming out. I'm excited to hear it. It sounds unbelievable. So today you release Pink Codeine. Can you tell us a bit about it?
Jono, do you want to take this one, my dude?
So lol, Rex. So I've got a very sort of close connection with this song on a couple of levels. One is that she jokingly says she wrote it about me and my drug problems. And actually, I don't know how much she's joking, to be honest. I think she did actually write it about me. And the second one is that it certainly, as far as my memory goes, it's one of the first songs where I kind of really flexed a little bit from a songwriting point of view, and took the raw stuff that Lex had brought in and really changed it quite profoundly, and had to argue my case rather vociferously. But you know, it was kind of a moment in the band where I think a deepening of the trust between me and Lexi kind of happened when we had our little sort of tiff about how a song could or should sound. And I managed to convince her to go along with my ideas, and I think it kind of marked a real point in the band where things are like, oh, okay, there's something to be said for what happens when we decide to listen to one another and work with one another and compromise for one another, you know, towards a song. And then it's just heavy as fuck, man. Like straight up, it's just like unbelievably god-awfully heavy. Like when the chorus drops, it's just like, whoa. And I like that, you know, and it's cool to have been part of creating something that even now, you know, I've listened to it a bunch of times, obviously. I still listen to it every now and then. I'm like, fuck, hey, that's a big noise, you know, and that's
a big
cool.
noise.
Yeah. And, you know, your sound has evolved into a heavier sound since you started. Fans can't deny it. It obviously comes from you then, Jono.
Yeah, it's interesting because we've got a drummer who's a metalhead, right? So he's just heavy, and it's just about having gotten to know one another more and more. We all seem to be drawn towards playing heavier and heavier. And then it's always funny watching us pull something heavy out of the band, and Alex turns into an excitable little schoolgirl.
Yeah, no, I get real pumped up. I think you know, because it's that whole thing of just, it's like letting the music evolve naturally. between the different people in the band, instead of trying to like control how you think you want it to sound or what you're trying to put out. It's like, hey, fuck, let's just let go, and let's just let the people, the fucking all of us, just create the stuff. And it's kiff. There's no like preconceived idea anymore of like, this is the direction. It's like, let's just fucking write, man, and see what happens. So that's been amazing, and naturally that's just becoming into a heavier sound, so it's super exciting.
Yeah.
And I think I genuinely do feel that this tune was, in as much as it's the first tune we're releasing that is like heavy, it was a watershed moment on an energetic level in the band, of getting to that point where we allowed ourselves the heaviness, where we went, okay, cool, we're gonna let ourselves be this big,
And I have to ask, how heavy are you going to end up going? Like, can people expect like some sort of like black metal song from you guys in the future?
Swedish death metal.
Yeah.
I think, dude, honestly, I think we're just naturally progressing into a space where we're just writing heavier stuff. And it's not to say it's like metal or fucking doom. It's just, it's everything. I mean, I think just because like Jono was saying, there's like metal, drumming influences, and Jono comes from a very heavy like blues, but also rock and roll background. And I come from the punk rock background. So, and like with Donnie joining us now, our new bass player, he's got his whole own element. So I just feel like we have a lot to express, and it's just fucking fun playing heavy music, Like, you just want to play loud shit. That's all you want to do. And it's coming out, and it's really fun. And I think we all feel it on a very deep, connected level, and it's just real, which is sick. So expect heavier stuff, my dude, for sure.
Brilliant. And you guys have recently signed with Mongrel Records. What does this mean for the band going forward?
I mean, it's all under the sort of same umbrella with Just Music. With STFD, it's the same sort of umbrella. I think just with Mongrel, we just kind of we are more suited to be with a label that just kind of supports heavier bands. Obviously evolving more into that sound, it just made sense to kind of join up with them. Which has been absolutely amazing. We love working with Warren. He's our dude. But, Kev with the Folk Down is still part of the team, still part of the crew. So we all work together really well. And I think it's just kind of like, everyone, honestly, it's an amazing family setup, and everyone is doing the work, and they're fucking dedicated, and, the sky's the limit, really. So I think it's been a really cool adjustment, but it's been a very organic, easy kind of flow. And it's I think just trusting where the band's going and trusting the right people that are with us with the same vision, and then, just see what happens, really.
I think there is a lot to be said for, certainly from my point of view, because I tend to be the real pedant and dad figure in the band. Warren's like years of experience, particularly in PR, and I think his absolute passion for heavy music, just makes it a perfect fit, where maybe what often makes for a successful band, as I can see, is people within the band having various strengths that they can bring to bear around the industry stuff. One of the things none of us particularly love is the PR side of the world. So to have a guy who happens to be the dude running the label, who's sort of a work specialty over the last 20 years is PR, it's just like such a sigh of relief, really, because it means that thing that we used to stress about, it's just like, okay, cool, that's getting handled by somebody who's a real pro. And it also, like, from my side, I've always thought of myself, so in South Africa we have the English and the Afrikaans speakers, right? And I've always variously referred to myself as a half breed or a mongrel, mixed breed. Kind of, it works for me. This is like some sort of gnarly street dog, I like that. I like that.
Yeah, it's a good match. So it's a good match. And I suppose, like you were saying, having a guy that is an expert in PR, it frees you guys up to just focus on the music.
Yeah. For for sure. And I
mean,
think, I just
things
sorry, Johnny, you go.
No, I insist.
Oh, golly, why, thank you, sir. Yeah, I mean, it's just, it just boils down to
in front of the nice interviewer, man.
Yeah, I just think it's like, obviously, Warren's expertise, and obviously, like, we started off with STFD, and it's just the natural evolution, and it's kiff because we could focus on the writing, and then the artwork, all that kind of cool, fun stuff, and just know that everything else is handled, and then there's amazing communication. I think that is just so vital with anything in life, but when it comes to this kind of thing, like having that open communication. And for everyone to be on the same page and have the same vision is just like so vital. And when people are excited about what you're doing and then they work with you as well, that just changes the game,
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned the new bassist. You've had a lineup change since we last spoke. What happened and what was it like trying to find a good fit?
Fucking bassist, dude. I mean, they just break your heart, they lead you on, they just fuck right off.
I thought that was normally drummers.
I know we spoke about this last time we spoke about the drummer situation.
Yeah.
You know what, like our old bassist Maddie, he's in Germany working for Warwick Bass, and we are so proud of him, and it's just incredible. And we loved, he was such a amazing integral part of the band. And definitely it was like a stress when we were so pumped for him when he got that job, and of course it's like, we're gonna miss a friend and like a bandmate, and also that whole thing of like who's gonna come into your band. It's also about the connecting with someone, like besides them being a really good musician, you have fun. It's like your family member. So that for us is very important with this band, that we really care about the people that come into our space and like who we create with. So that was always a bit scary to go like, fuck, and who comes in now. And we did a little audition thing. We said, hey, guys, we need a bassist. What's up? Like, hit us up. And, Donnie was one of the dudes that got hold of us. And he comes from a small town, up in South Africa. And he just moved to Cape Town, and he didn't really know anyone. And, we were just like, who's this dude, man? Like, we don't know who this guy is. Because, of course, in any, like, Cape Town, and it's like this, and like, Berlin, all those kind of cities, musicians all know each other, and it's like recycling of musicians through bands, right? And here was this dude who like we don't know, no one fucking knows, and he came in for the audition, and it was just like, wow, okay, this motherfucker knows what's up. He is different. There's something about him, and he like him and Jono. I mean, Jono, I think you were just kind of like having a little blushing, crushful moments when you guys started playing together.
Well, so here's my thing. I mean, obviously, yes, the friendship thing is important, but I put the music first. If I can speak to somebody on a musical level, the friendship and the relationship will take care of itself, as far as I'm concerned. If we can speak to one another at that sort of deep soul level, I'm not concerned about the nature of a friendship.
That's why we balanced out, John, and that's what I'm going, dude. You see, you like the hard ass, I'm like the softie. So it's like a little fucking cool balance, bro.
Thanks for the interruption, Lex.
Sorry.
And Donnie walked in, and I mean, obviously, subsequently, we've gotten to know one another a little bit more. But he just walked in and was astonishingly adept. So I mean, okay, I play lead guitar in the band, right? But my real interest is again, heaviness is not found in flashy lead guitar playing. Heaviness is found in like crushing grooves. The slower the better, as far as I'm concerned, or the slower the heavier. And because I come, we come from South Africa, I listen to a lot of African groove, and it's different, man. Like, there's a weird feel that we got going on this continent, and a lot of people don't access that. Certainly, sort of people in our kind of immediate environments, they're just not listening to that kind of music. This cat walked in, and the one riff we have that no one's been able to play properly, he walked in and played that groove heavier than I can play it, and I went, Jesus! And this is a groove I wrote. This is one of my sole intentions. soul SOUL intentions, that this guy comes in and goes, okay, right, let's make this really heavy. And that was when we were playing She's Dead, Lex.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what the fuck? What is this? And I'll be very straight. The dude looks pretty unassuming. And that's about the biggest understatement I can make. He's just like small, weedy dude with like little nerd Coke bottle glasses and like super quiet, super fucking chilled, doesn't say much, like has a really offbeat sense of humor. Put a bass guitar on this dude and he's like heavier than God, man. And I just went, when I heard that and I heard him like lock into that groove, I just went, well, okay, like no question, Then I had to fight with Alex and Andrew, but that's normal. And subsequently, I think we've all kind of agreed that he was the right option. And what's been amazing now is getting in now the tricky bit is like, okay, now we're really going to get to know one another, and let's write together or first record together. So he's featuring on Pink Codeine. But that song had been written to a large degree. So he's recorded on that. Then it was cool. Let's write together. Well, we've had some kind of teething issues, but I think we're onto a good pluck now. And then, of course, next week we climb on a plane and we go tour up north in South Africa, in Johannesburg and Pretoria for a few days. So it's kind of like, okay, cool. Like we've now done the bedding in. Now let's see how it really works. That's all quite exciting. As like right now, things are quite exciting.
Yeah, I can imagine. That'll be the real test, though, when you go on tour together. See if you can survive. If all of you come back.
Yeah. I suspect that we are going to find out that we all pale in comparison to the weirdness that is Donnie.
I think so. I love you, Donnie.
he's an interesting cat, man.
Yeah. And you've an upcoming EP. I know it might be early days yet to start sharing some news on it, but what can you tell us about at this stage?
Heavier, definitely heavier. It's the stuff that we've been playing live, and we've got a lot of really, really great feedback on, these like newer tracks that we've written. And so it's definitely like, and also us finding the right dude to track with and record with, who really, he did Pink Codeine, Floris LaRue, and he really understands our sound and how to work with the sound. And so we're really, really pumped to be tracking these next songs, because they've definitely gone a much heavier kind of like fucking, I don't know, like grunge, psych, rock and roll, like a bit of metal vibe. And to think about going into studio now with this dude that understands what we're trying to do and has worked with a lot of like, Folkoff and all those dudes. So it's kind of just, it's exciting. So, I mean, yeah, I say before the end of the year, we'll have that EP coming out, a lot of music videos, and it's going to be kiff. It's going to be cool to see, sort of how people take it, and respond to it. And yeah.
What I think is going to become apparent very quickly as soon as you listen to Pink Codeine is there's been a marked step upwards in just the overall delivery by the band of our songs. And that goes through, now we've got a bit of experience in the studio, our songwriting chops are better honed. We have a producer who's a guitar rock oriented producer who's gotten involved with our sound. This is a guy whose idea of a good time is turning big amps as loud as they go. And that works for me, and I think Lexi quite likes the loud guitars these days as well.
I do.
So it's just there's I don't want to be so bold as to promise a quantum leap, but there's a definite like big step upwards on all fronts with regards to, the approach, the sound of our records, and I think also the ambition of our songwriting. We taking things, we still haven't found any like mental limitations. We're still willing to do stupid shit, which is what I refer to as like, add in an extra bar here, just, for fuck's sake. So yeah, I think there's the new EP. I mean, it's weird because we've been playing these songs for a year now, so it's like new EP. It's like, oh god, we're already writing EP number 3. We started writing for our third EP already. Which is, I mean, God, to be working at a pace like this, in a band is just the best thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, the next one that's going to come out, it's going to feel like a big step up recordings wise. I mean, Lex, we haven't even talked about this, but I'm quite curious to kind of find out what the feedback is going to be between our much more produced and layered recorded sound, as opposed to our, obviously, limited by 2 guitars, bass, and drums, very raucous live sound. That's going to be an interesting feature of the next couple of months, I think.
And obviously it's concerts that made us. You've been on before, Lexi, so we have to talk a bit about gigs. So since the last time we spoke, can you tell us about what gigs you played? What's maybe the best ones?
Oh man, I mean, the last time we spoke, we were about to play with the Nudies, the New Girls, which was incredible. And since then, we played again with them after that. Dude, honestly, we just feel very grateful because we've, as a band that is relatively new, we are really just trying to push the limits and be very open to playing with different genres. So, we're playing like metal shows with metal bands, and then also opening for, quite prolific South African bands, that didn't play for 10 years and had a big reunion show, and like playing sold out shows opening for them. And I think to be to be asked to open for those kind of bands is really amazing. I mean, like we go on tour now, and like next month we are playing with The Narrow, which is a pretty big South African band that was around from when I was like a teenager. So I definitely feel like our kind of the way that we've booked our shows, we've obviously done the smaller club shows because that's important for your stamina as a musician and just to kind of get, all that traction. But we've definitely had these really incredible, shows at amazing venues, opening for these much bigger bands. And that's definitely, given us that confidence boost to like believe in ourselves and keep pushing the boundaries, and to also be like, the fucking sky's the limit, man. Like, Europe's coming, fucking Ireland's coming, we're doing this shit. So it's been very cool.
Brilliant. And Jono, you weren't here the last time, so I have to ask, what concerts have made you? Concerts you've attended, what are some of the best?
Brian likes to ask those hard questions, dude. Brian gets right in there.
It's not a hard. The question is easy to answer. The gigs come to the top of my head very quickly. The problem is it's going to like possibly whatever. U2, the 360-degree tour that I got to watch in the Cape Town Stadium is the best rock and roll gig I've ever seen in my life, hands down.
Right,
you see that Lexi's just like going, oh my god.
No, they know they should, dude. I mean, I'm like, I fucking get it.
The other one that was quite that had quite an impact on me, and when I say impact, it hit like an 18-wheeler juggernaut, was getting to be right like on the stage line of Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band in a 20,000 seater auditorium.
Oh man!
When they toured South Africa, and I didn't know Bruce Springsteen's music. I didn't know the E Street Band. I just got given a ticket, and I was like, "Cool, man! It's Bruce Springsteen. It's like the 19th wonder of the world. This is going to be cool." I went with my cousin, who I'm super close with, and we got there early because she'd found out, like, amongst the like total Bruce Springsteen freaks, like if you get there 5 hours before the show and you get the first 400 bracelets, you get in the pit. So we went and did that, and we queued for like 5 hours, and then I was on stage, and like pretty much I think Bruce Springsteen may have sweated on me. And like Tom Morello it was that tour that Tom Morello was doing, you know. So like, here's me. I've never heard fucking Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band, and here they are in front of me. I'm right on stage, and it's the only way I can describe that band is that it's the sound of a juggernaut, you know. 2.5 hours of unrelenting raw power. It's crazy. The other one that was a big one for me, growing up, I listened to Muse a lot. I was a classical pianist all throughout my school career, and a choral singer. So like listening to Muse was quite a big deal. They toured South Africa just as part of their world tour, promoting Black Holes and Revelations. So they were really like right at, like, they were on the up, like, but breaking, you know. Breaking is like the band they are now. And I got to see them on that tour, and that was insane because I was a huge fan at the time. So that was, I mean, that, like, I've got shivers now. And then at the same gig, and I think this one's worth mentioning as well, it's probably the only one that's really relevant in terms of the sound of this band. But again, an artist who I didn't know anything about outside of 2 songs, those being Black Hole Sun and Be Yourself. And then Chris Cornell walked onto a stage in front of me in Kenilworth, and 15,000 giddy South Africans, and opened his mouth and started singing Coaches.
Oh man!
And I was like, "What the fuck is this noise coming out of this man's face? Like, who sings like that? What the fuck?" I didn't know. I couldn't deal with it. You know, I didn't know what to expect. And then I heard the voice of God, you know, coming out of Chris Cornell, and I was like, "Okay, cool." You know, Jesus. Yeah, and then I guess also, like, this is a conversation we could go on all day. So I'm going to say one more thing, which is, I'm very fortunate in my life down here in Cape Town, South Africa, that my parents started a business about 14 years ago. They have a small independent live music venue in Cape Town, and I've gotten to experience the cream of the South African musician crop, and some internationals, in fact, come and play some incredible intimate gigs at our venue. And I mean, sit down, we call them sit down, shut up and listen gigs. You know, and just to have, you know, like the Nude Girls, for example, Arno Carstens, the lead singer, he comes and sits there on a stool for an hour and a half with his acoustic guitar, and just plays through like a bunch of songs that he's written to 50 people who quiet as a mouse. And those kind of shows on the opposite end of the spectrum are also like incredible, you know. And especially somebody like Arno, you know, you go from, on the one hand, opening for his like crazy scary rock and roll band, the Springbok Nude Girls, to like watching it, to like getting to hang out with them backstage at my parents' venue, and like him having kittens about the state of his voice because he's man alone on stage with an acoustic guitar, and just go like, man, it's always so cool just finding out that musos are just like everyone else. So yeah, I mean, I'm a lucky boy. My whole life is very much in and around music and musicians 24/7. But certainly those big gigs, and then another one that deserves a mention, because I'm really fucking excited and sugared up now after that bar of chocolate, is the Counting Crows, just because I love them and they're such great songwriters, you know. And Adam Duritz is such a great singer. I watched him again a month ago, and I just sat there and like the sound was bullshit in the venue we were in, and couldn't fucking hear the guitars. But like, I just went, okay, never mind that. I'm just going to listen to the fact that Adam Duritz is a fucking great singer. And I listened to a dude be an amazing singer for 2 hours, and I was just like, this is great, you know?
Yeah. Geez, man, I'm seriously jealous over some of them gigs. Like, seriously, they are great gigs. I have to ask though, have you guys played your parents' venue yet?
We're too loud. We're way too fucking loud.
Like, yeah, literally, we are too. I mean, it's hilarious that comes up. I was with my family last night. It was my uncle's birthday, and we were all around having dinner. And somebody asked the question. They're like, "Oh yeah, Jono, so we see your band's like doing quite well and stuff. When are you going to play the Alma Cafe?" And I just look over at my dad, and he's just like,
Never.
he just shook his head. He's like, he knows. And I know, and we just laughed. And then we have to try and explain to the people. It's like, no, we'll actually cause permanent hearing damage if we had to play in that venue because it's so small. Like, people would get hurt, you know?
Yeah. Oh man, maybe in like 10-15 years when you go through like a softer phase, you can play like acoustically there or something.
Look, I'll let you in on a little secret. Alex is a little country bumpkin like you won't believe.
Oh shit.
Go on,
it's the truth. No, it's the truth. That's the truth.
It's actually funny enough. It's where Alex and I first connected was around like folk music and acoustic indie folk and country. We sang harmonies together 8 years ago. That's where we met one another the first time. And then this project, I'm sure you would have shared with Brian. The project actually started with doing an alt country dark folk kind of solo project. And then she made the mistake of phoning me and asking if I'd play electric guitar with her. I was like, cool, but that means you're getting like Led Zeppelin involved. Yeah.
Oh man, you destroyed her folk dreams, is what you're saying.
Yeah, was it fucking
pretty much.
Oh, still here.
Cool. Yeah. No, Shay, it was very cute actually. She's like, oh, do you think you could copy some of the pedal steel lines that who is it?
Richard. Yeah.
Richard Case played on the album, and I'm like, we could do that, or we could just start a rock and roll band. I think it was pretty much like quote unquote. That's what I said.
Yeah, 100%.
And and here we are.
Well, thank God for you two guys meeting like that, and for you saying, let's start a rock and roll band. And before I let you jump off, then I know you've spoke about the upcoming EP, stuff like that. Is there any future plans in the pipeline right away that you want to share with the listeners? Gigs, anything?
Well, yeah, I mean, we're doing a little tour next week.
You're playing a gig on Saturday, Alex.
We're playing a gig on Saturday. Just out of our town, which is awesome.
Dad energy, it's ridiculous, man.
But yeah, I mean, next week is going to be great because we're playing with like big band, the Black Cat Bones, Everett Snayman, Rough Magic, Culture Boy, Acid Magus, like so all the Mongrel bands. We're playing with the label bands and just doing some really cool shows in Joburg and Gauteng.
We're playing a drag show.
We're playing a drag show. That'll be cool.
Cool.
And then we got the Narrow at the end of the month. And then, I mean, honestly, dude, we just fucking working on Europe. Like, we will be there early next year. So that's kind of the big thing now we're doing is just, I was just really planning to come to Europe, getting all our ducks in a row for that. And then just really going, okay, cool. Europe twice a year, possibly, getting on a plane and not coming back home for a fair amount of time. We'll see, but that's where the vision is.
I love it. I'm actually for next year I'm planning on like going to mainland Europe and covering concerts over there, so hopefully the universe works out that I can get to one of your gigs and cover it. So
we'd love that. I think meeting in person, having a beer, we can like sit and chat about cool shit, man. It'll be rad.
Yeah, exactly. I think after 2 appearances now, I think the third one has to be in person.
Yeah. I feel like we're friends now.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Well, guys, thanks a million for jumping back on again, and good luck with the new music. I can't wait for everyone to hear it.
Thank you, Brian. Much love, my dude.